Okay, let's talk about Egypt game, chapter 19, 20, and 21. This is the last chapters. So, the discussion question that we had to think about was among the six children, if you were to pick one as your best friend, who would that be? And in my case, I would pick Melanie. She is not the main character, but then she played a very significant role in transforming April's life. And April, at the beginning of the novel, she's new to town. She still misses her life with her mom back in Hollywood, and she doesn't feel that attached to her grandma that she now has to live with, and she doesn't feel pretty much accustomed and used to this new environment. So she's pretty unkind, and she wants to distance other people and push people out of her boundary. But then Melanie Roth, she's very patient and kind, constantly reaches out to April, becomes her friend, and involves her into not involves her, but then participates in the Egypt game passionately with April, making her feel at home gradually. So at the end of the book, we can see that April is now feeling more genuine love to her grandma. So she really wants to stay with her grandma. And then in this neighborhood, I think the role that Melanie played was very significant. So and Melanie has many positive characteristics. So she's very smart, she loves reading, and she's always eager to learn new things and explore different worlds through books. That's why Melanie and April were instantly connected with each other because of their um, common interest in reading. So, if two people who enjoy reading get together and start having conversations, the topics just never end. So, these two people can be really great friends. Also, Melanie has a warm heart and big heart. She is compassionate, she's very thoughtful, and April was feeling very awkward in this new environment, but Melanie immediately reached out to her. And April acted very prickly and distant, but then Melanie didn't give up. She was very patient and eventually helped April feel more comfortable in this new town. And Melanie, she does not exclude other kids. She's inclusive and open-minded. So there was a new girl, Elizabeth. She's Asian. She's Elizabeth Chung, and moved into the apartment. And April, because of her usual personality, she doesn't want anybody to cross her boundary. But Melanie was more open-minded and willing to let her into the circle and let Elizabeth into the Egypt game. This made the game a lot richer and more interesting. So Melanie is the type of person who values community, and she wants to bring people together rather than exclude others. So she wants to make sure that nobody feels left out. Yeah, and then, oh, Melanie's little brother Marshall, he's only 4 years old, but then he tags along the older kids to everywhere they go. And he doesn't get easily frightened. He's very brave, doesn't talk much, but he only says the necessary, absolutely necessary stuff. And he's really independent considering his age. So Marshall's personality, he's very calm and he calmly observes what's going on rather than talking. So because he is very independent and he speaks whenever it's absolutely necessary, people pay attention to him when he ever talks. And because he's not talking that much, he's observing, he notices little details that other people miss. So this kind of calm and observant personality helped him become a critical witness to the crime that was the central to the theme of the story. So he remembered the real culprit and he remembered that it was not the professor. So his testimony cleared the professor's charges and helped the police catch the real criminal. And the professor had been unfairly judged by the community because he refuses to talk very much and because he's old and he would rather keep to himself rather than socialize with others. People feared him, distrusted him, without really knowing him. So it was really unfair. But then Marshall, the youngest one, he's only 4 and he's least influential of the group. He proved the professor's innocence. So this reminds us that every individual, regardless of his age, has immense value. And sometimes these qualities in a child, which is innocence, and the child usually is free from bias and prejudices. So a child actually probably can see the truth more clearly than adults. So it reminds us that we should maybe try to become more like children as we grow older. So we might get knowledge, but then as little children, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, we should try to clear ourselves of any biases and prejudices that we might have developed over the years. Yeah, and Professor, it's very unlike of him to call up a meeting with all the other children, but he did just before Christmas. And then he told the kids that he needed to tell them a story, and he did. Before he started the story, Marshall asked him, Professor, is it a Christmas story? And then Professor said, yeah, in a way. And then the reason why he described it as a Christmas story is because the children were almost like Christmas gifts to him. He mentioned that. And why did he feel like the children were Christmas gifts for him? Um, so, as the story that he told to the children, he loved his wife very much. His wife was a joy in his life, and then she had a kind heart, and she wanted to help out a native tribe somewhere in the third world country. It's not mentioned, probably somewhere in Africa or South America. But then, while she was trying to build a business for the local people, there was an invasion and rebellion, and she got killed by one of the local people of the tribe. So the professor was heartbroken, his complete world was shattered, and he completely lost in humankind in general. So that's why he has been keeping to himself and then refusing to communicate with anybody. But through accident, through coincidence, these children started playing in the backyard of his store, and he started observing them. Not, and then he became sort of a silent guardian for these children. And while watching the children using their creativity, his life has been sparked with new energy in his life, which was usually dull and very lonely. So that became a turning point in Professor's life. And especially when Marshall came out and cleared the professor's guilt and then saved him, this moment sort of uh, rebuilt the trust that he lost in humankind, and now he has this courage to reconnect with other humans um, because he sort of regained trust in others through the small action of this little child, Marshall. So that's why the professor describes children as Christmas gifts, um, because these children brought warmth, connection, and meaning into his world. And they also symbolize a second chance in life. No matter how old a person is, everybody needs a second chance. So Professor is reconnecting with his past by looking at all the rituals, and then the knowledge about ancient civilization. So he had this academic passion, right? That's why he became a professor in archaeology, and then he mentioned that he's planning trips abroad to buy more artifacts, and now that he is feeling more energized and passionate. So that's why the professor described the children as Christmas gifts for him. Okay, this is pretty much it, and that's the end of this book. Thank you so much.